Dema Jim Den Den, the Shinship one, Joshua, Yanda one, Zobe, Sanje, Ribada, Shasute, the Orisha one, Jiden, Jamba, Juwandi, Kalo Juba, Landa, Meba, Lada, Menajed, Sanje Jim Den Den, Beja, Shaja, Chasen, Judu, Jazu, Shell, Dema Jim Den Den, the Shinship one, Joshua, Yanda, Zobe, Sanje, Ribada, Shasu, Dema, the Orisha. Jiden Jamba Jivon de Kalo Java, Lana Meba, Lana Mena Jita, Sanje Jimden de Java, Shajan to Shasa, Shodo Jazu Share, Demba, Jimden, the Shisha, Tashu, Yandaban Zobe Sanje Ribada, Shasun Demba, the Orisha, Jiden Jamba Jivon de Kalo Java, Lana Meba, Hada Mena Jidemba, Sanje Jimden de Beja, Shaja to Bala Shasa, Shodo Jazu Share. Kanse kanyen zowa chatam se sajen dena kumban debra. Manen jiden dena choche su teze keba kema shaase. Namda kunga chodo su sanwa yishi jazo seke rumba. Chaba jiden suna mame wa kumbo shonye kema shaase. Senjo denpa chimenda veshi sengonda wa kema shaase. Dure kenda seba suma je nyame kenshen kema shaase. Gombo tuje che denpa tamje kembe denpa sonama yeden jazo. Di shen shen la cha zhen lo ta bian de sha chen wa ge wen ge song de zhui. Jie de de nama shao ge wa shen ge chen la cha zhen wu chen le zhui wa la ya. La ba ta la rab du ne shen ge ta ba yen de de gin de la ya cha zhen. Di ba chen ya mi sha shen ge wa pe zong so ba je rang ge sem ne yong so de ten de sang je de ba. Karma ra re ma me da ju ma se wa chu bru da me lo lo da je da. Di je chen lo de de da so nam de ye tam je se. Kuvantamne genje dadu gadan nadan chivya labju. Sibe solen jovan jovare shu.
To the teachers of the blessed one, the one of what is destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, no other word, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer whom the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, no other word, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer whom the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one of the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, no of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer whom the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When the supreme among humans you upon this earth, you placed out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then I prostrate, with pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom pushing like golden mountain, flame that blazes in the 3 worlds, wind the vast, to you I prostrate. With the supreme science face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds I have. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the teacher having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one gone to dustness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality. To that dark knowledge pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the sublime community intending virtue I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Star, mirage, flame of lamp, illusion, a drop of dew or bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning or cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain rank of all seen, subdue the four faults, and be liberated from the motion of suffering, of aging, sickness, and death.
Sanje Jabba Soje Chanama Chanjo Padu Dane Jazu Dagin Jeso Jeva Sonam Jen Rola Benje Sanjen Drubu Sanje Jabba Soje Chanama Chanjo Padu Dane Jazu Dagin Jeso Jeva Sonam Rola Benje Sanjen Drubu Sho Sanje Jabba Soje Chanama Chanjo Padu Dane Jazu Dagin Jeso Jeva Sonam Jen Rola Benje Sanjen Drubu Sho.
I go for refuge in telling to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Tamje Dema Lo Cha Zalon De Da Sanje Jumden De Ani Nandi Shenshi Wanda Jumbo Yodo Zobe Sanje Riba Da Sha Zon Dema De Wari Shaban Je De Jamba Je Wanda Lama Mewa Lada Menon Je Dema Sanje Jumden De So De Shenshi Wanda De Sonan Da Ge Judamba Gewe Zawa Nama Chumeza Sube Rabdo Jamba Sonam Je Dere Nam Je She Peja Samba Nam Je Treba Tenam Je Medo Jeba Chuyo Remba Dumba Tonam Me Dumba Meba Tebe Mewa Mombaraga Sherab Sigi Medo Tonam Zeba Meba Simje Tamje Dumba Chanju Semba Nam Je Yabo Pabe Kasa Nam Je Gebo Yangan and Deba Chonje Dumba Nam Je Tebe Ishepa Dom Meba Boba Samje Mejeba Sonamba Taba Yanyo Kuja Taba Chome Jeba Kutsumba Meba Deba Taga Sudage Nyawa Magoba Sumeba Tata Mojoba Tumena Nama Pumbo Tanda Kamnam Medema Jejanam Dabo Dubena Shindo Jeba Yozo Donga Tanda Nabraju Sibale Juba Chuo Lungeba Yeji Yozo Deba Majumba Tadaju Sanje Jimden de Yishan Neba Yangan Deba Medema Yanda Yatana Simje Tamjela Sibe Sala Shuba de Dedam Sanje Jimden de Kushibe Yode Yanda Tabeshina Tomageba Padugeba Tamageba Terensa Sinjusa Yozo Zoba Yozo Taba Yozo Chawa Yahantaba Dembeba Tusheba Meba Yavatum Detonwala Tenyoba Kevanam Sozoran Rimbachibu Jumden de Hosum Chundu Wala Nerotum Yavachu Zobe Sanju Don Jovachiba Mitumba Mijun Debata Temba Yuba Yubachiba Teba Chimbegin Nevashuba Ribashuba Tumbashuba Tumbashuba Tembajibu Chachebe Vezuba Sona Jepeji Yenzo Jovachiba Jibenda Zuba Kundo Jibenda Zuba Chembo Kangi Mobo Tenjo Longo Meba Yishinya Messon Pemeta Chance. So we are on the page 226. Commentary on Awakening Mind. Changju Semde. Independent of the conventionals, independent of the convention, no ultimate truth can be found. So, independent of the conventional, no ultimate can be found means ultimate and conventional, ultimate truth and conventional truth are essentially identical. So, it's distincted by the two different perceptions one's perceptions, looking for the ultimate objectivities and not found objectivities, and the conventionals, another perceptions that is relatively designating something. Then you find something, right? So relatively you found something, ultimately you found nothing. So two perceptions makes possess the two truth, ultimate truth, conventional truth. So which means in reality, essentially, they are no different. So independent of the conventional, no ultimate truth can be found. Conventional is taught to be emptiness. Emptiness itself is the conventional. So nothing independently, so therefore dependent arising. Dependent arising, therefore is no independent. One does not occur without others, just as the being produced and impermanent. So the product in impermanent is a two because the two subject. One's trying to identify how things has been born due to the cosmic conditions. One subject that is how things are instantly changing, right? So therefore, it's found two, impermanent and product. But impermanent product are not essentially two different entities. So they are one. Like a table is impermanent because it is a product. A table is product because it is impermanent, right? So is a subject that is divided into two. Therefore, it found two truth. So the meaning of the first four line is this: the suchness of the conventionals. Suchness of the conventional is not of a different nature, because the conventional truth are themselves empty of true existence. And furthermore, the emptiness of true existence is itself presented as the basis of the conventional. So because of the emptiness, things are relatively exist. Things are relatively existing, therefore nothing exists by itself or truly exist. So the last two lines state that such being the case, the two observer in invariable relationship whereby one does not come into being without the others. So the ultimate truth in conventional truths, one cannot exist without others. So, and since there is in the relationship of the identical nature, being without other relationship with identical natures, the two are shown to be like being produced and being impermanent. So which are also identical in nature. So identical in natures and identical is kind of there's two different things. Identical in natures, like product and impermanent are identical in nature, but they are not identical. They are not one. So I think I have said that several times in the Buddhist, in the particular Madhyamika school, they are talking about essentially the identical, conceptually distinctive. Right? Essentially identical, conceptually distinct. So space in the empty of its space are essentially identical, conceptually distinctive. Because one, the space is the basis. The empty of the space means empty is characteristics of the space. Right? So conceptually distinctive, two separate phenomena.
as for the characters of the individual member of these divisions, conventional truth and ultimate truth. This is mentioned above. When the individual truth were identified as what is the obtained by the two type of valid cognitions. So the two type of valid cognitions. One, the valid cognitions trying to designating something relatively, right? Therefore, it finds something. And one is not finding any relativities. It is finding the objectivities. So then couldn't find anything objectively, right? So I think the sign of the kind of the sign of why things objectively not found, because things exist relatively, right? Now, if what is present here is to be harmonized with Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva Way, how would one explain the following in that text? So some of the Sakya school, Sakya masters, so they follow this and Guide to the Bodhisattva, Shantideva's text, literally, saying in Shantideva's text, conventional and ultimate truth. These are accepted to be true truth. The ultimate is not an object of intellect. The intellect is said to be conventional. So it's kind of saying, in the surface level, say, because of the subject is, intellect is conventional. So this subject is conventional, therefore this subject cannot be find anything ultimate nature. So it's literally, it says that, but and every subject is conventional. Every perceptions, right, is the conventional. So if because of it's conventional, therefore it cannot find, ultimate truth, which means, so there is no subject that has revealed the ultimate truth, right? So if the ultimate is not found by any perceptions, so ultimate truth is no longer existing, right? So it's not perceptible. It is not knowable. So now the question is, so what do you mean by that? The ultimate is not object of intellect. So intellect is said to be conventional. So now if your intellect is referring to the languages and the concept, right? So then you say verbal cannot be expressed ultimate as it is, because the ultimate nature is inexpressible reality. And ultimate truth is also not perceived as it is by the concept, but concept can deliver the meaning of the ultimate truth, but concept itself is so not being able to perceive the ultimate as it is, because the concept is concept, the mode of engaging in the object is by projecting. So the first two lines here, they present divisions into two truth. Then, when identifying the individual member of the divisions, of that divisions, ultimate truth is identified in one line, the ultimate, while conventional truth is identified in another line. So the intellect is conventional. The assertion that what has been presented as the thesis in the preceding line, that the ultimate is not an object of intellect, is being established by the subsequent line, intellect said to be conventional. So using the reasoning because it is the conventionals. So it is maybe a verbal, the language and the concept are mundanely and perceive things, ordinarily and engaging an object. So therefore, the language and the concept has no direct access to the ultimate truth. So it does not appear to be the intent of the text at all. In fact, identification of the true truths found here in the Guide to the Bodhisattva Way appears to be restatement of the following passage from the meeting of the Father and Son Sutra, Bodhisattva Muni and his father, right, in the conversations, as quoted in Shantideva's own compendium of training. So the Guide to the Bodhisattva, this line is restatement of the sutras. So in this sutra it says, of these truths, the Tathagata sees, this says Tathagata sees the conventional to be the preview of the world. That which is ultimate is infallible. It is not the object of knowledge. It is not an object of detailed knowledge. It is not an object of thorough knowledge. It is not shown. So in this, Buddha says, Tathagata sees the both conventional and ultimate truth as a preview of the world. So it's like it is true truth, ultimate and the true truth, conventional truths. There seem to be two truth, the conventional ultimate truth, for the sentient being to engage. Right. So sentient beings means ordinary sentient beings. We are always in everyday life. We are engaging on a conventional reality. So in this conventional reality, within this conventional reality, we're trying to find something reliable, something certain, something unchangeable truth. Because impossible, right? So it is impossible to find the unchangeable kind of certainty, ultimate in conventional world. Then the sentient beings try hard to understand deeper into the conventional reality. The sentient beings start revealing there is something truth beyond the conventional. So these sentient beings and trying to engage in both conventional and going beyond the conventional. So that's why the Buddha says these two truths preview of the world. So the Buddha is completely and totally settled in ultimate truth. So that Buddha is not like, stepping onto both worlds. But Buddha, witness or reveals the true truth. So that which is the ultimate truth is infallible and not object of knowledge, means now it's not object of knowledge which is intellectual or conceptual. And it is also not expressible through any languages, right, as it is. And not an object of thorough knowledge because it's not direct object of any concept in the language. So therefore, it is not shown. So I think it's not shown here, which means in Tibetan it says Mahdemba. So Mahdemba means not shown, not presented, not teaches. So it cannot be taught through languages. So I think, and also Nagarjuna's chapter 25th, last stanzas, 24th, saying pacification of the observation, pacification of the mental construct, the peace. Nowhere the Buddha teaches anyone at all. Right? So which means the ultimate truths cannot be shown through the suggestions, through the indications, through the language, through the concepts. So that Buddhist and Nagarjuna's stanzas is also, one of you can say restatement of the sutra. So one of the sutra that says, the day the Buddha enlightened under the Bodhi tree until the Kushalnaga passing Nirvana, he hasn't even uttered a word. So the Buddha did not teach at all. So, which means Buddha, the omniscience omniscience does not cease, right? The person who teach as independent, and the person who is listener as independent. So there is nothing to teach at all. There is no teacher that intrinsically exists. So which means nowhere did Buddha teaches anyone at all. So I think this is kind of, if he kind of explain this in a very ordinary languages, then says Buddha, everything he kind of it teaches out of experience, he become that knowledge. It's not like a knowledge that he possessed, like Buddha as a possessor. So he suggests someone, right, independent, independent, how's that? So there is no independent teachers who teaches his knowledge to independent listener. So so why I'm saying is, it's in this line it says it is not shown. In Tibetan it's matebas, almost like not shown or not teaches, not suggesting. You can suggest, today, you say you can suggest the today's Sunday. This Sunday is not really good Sunday because it's fog, no sunshine, no rain. So you are suggesting relatively because the weathers, because of the there's no light from the sun, and then you can suggest this Sunday is not a good one. So it's relatively. So in this way, Buddha hasn't suggested, right, anything, anywhere, anyone at all. So everything he teaches is, to lead, lead to the wisdom, right? To open the, realization of the emptiness. So then, if that is the case, then you may ask, so Buddha did not teach the renunciations, Buddha did not teach the Four Noble Truths, Buddha did not teach the, importance of the monastic vows, the bhikshus. So then it's a relative. So what he, when he teaches what he is, what he is, and what he is understanding. So his understanding, he is inseparable with reality. His understanding is a reality as it is. To reach that state, and then these are taught, right? Monastic disciplines, and then Four Noble Truths, the renunciation, samsara, and the liberations, right? To reach there. Right? So of these two, Tathagata sees the conventional to be preview of the world. So preview, I have said, the preview of the worlds, and Jigdenji Cheba means to engage. So Buddha sees the two truths are, previewed by the, previewed by the world or the sentient beings. So the ultimate is infallible. So this is ultimate truth is certain, is a certain, is a definite, is infallible, unchanging. Now sentient beings and every sentient being is looking for this kind of truth. So sentient beings hungry for the truth, but they are finding truth in conventional reality. So therefore, often fail to find anything that truth.
This is always looking at the object of detailed knowledge.
Object of detailed knowledge. Let me see. Number 32. Yeah, in this sutra, this is tell a kunzum the jidin juchel, the shinship with six souls. Kunzum is conventional reality is preview of the world or the sentient beings. This is how Buddha sees, right? And then ultimate truth. So ultimate truth is inexpressible, or say, unknowable, number and not perceptible. So I think in English they translate detailed knowledge. So not knowable is not perceived, not perceptible, right? Perceptible. And there is no complete. So there's no complete, understanding. Now the question is, if the ultimate truth is perceptible or kind of as it is, from the with the language and the concept, then every sentient beings, when they understand the concept or idea, they should reveal the emptiness. Right. So we have been revealed emptiness long ago. So we know exact concept of this emptiness. Right. So here the concept of languages is has no direct access to the ultimate truth, but this is the kind of stairs, step by step. It keep reminds you for the mind to reflect upon this emptiness again and again. So detailed objects, it's not knowable objects, not object with detailed knowledge. Yeah, sometimes it's very strange because anything like color, sound, smell, taste, tactilities, and then the concept of the relations, nations, government, and then east, west, north, south, and then past, present, futures. There's a whole. There is no detail you can understand because you have to live it kind of, as we kind of designate. You cannot go too close to it because if you go too close, you cannot find that truth. So, like a color that exists, if your eye is too close to the eye and the color, then you cannot see the color. So that's why it's not detailed knowledge. So, meaning of the statement that ultimate truth is not knowable is that it is not an object of cognitions in the manner that I will explain below when interpreting the passage from Entering the True Truth Sutra. Otherwise, if the ultimate truth is not an object of any cognition at all, this will contradict with the statement found in that same meeting of Father and Son Sutra, that because the Buddha has directly actualized both conventional truth and ultimate truths, namely emptiness, he is defined as the omniscient, because the Buddha is, so omniscient. So therefore, he must have actualized the true truth. So that I think there's another suggestion that the way the Buddha sees the true truth is the Buddha sees the true truth is engaged, perceived, and known by the world. Right. Now the question is, from his own point of view, his own, according to his experience, does he sees true truth? So probably there is no two. There is no two. Because anything that he sees is independent. But he can speak of relatively. So the true truth, the way he sees is, this is how the sentient beings' mind, they engage, they perceive, and they conceive the true truths.
This makes me think the identical in nature. So is that because you said that there is no ultimate truth independent of the conventional? So does that mean that the conventional and the ultimate are identical in nature, but not identical? Yes.
Yeah. Conventional truth and ultimate truths. Yeah. They're identical in nature, they are not identical. Because they are a different identity. So one is ultimate truth, one is conventional truth. Ultimate truth is, infallible. Conventional truth is fallible, is a false existence. So it's unreal and real. And this is like, what do you call it? Deceptive and non-deceptive. So, anyone who's kind of a lying speech, right? So if you don't understand the meaning, intention, so then this speech is, it deceives you. If you understand the intention and the whole meaning, and then is no longer deceptive to you. So non-deceptive and deceptive you can find within the lie speech. Right. So in this ultimate truth, the conventional truth is like that. So conventional truth is relatively exist. And then that relatively exist is not, right, not independent. There you find the ultimate truth. So you cannot, single out ultimate truth from the conventional. So yeah, I think this. Yeah. So it's almost like a fire and the, you know, with with this bare hand, when you, with this bare hand closer, put it closer to the fire, it can burn. And then if you put the fire suit on you, and then you go nearby the fire, so it cannot be burned. So if you have knowledge, understanding, so that can protect you despite conventional reality. So not being able to deceive, not being able to deceive means you understand this conventional is falsely exist or unreal. So that is unreal is the ultimate truth. So this is why the emptiness is also not intrinsically exist. It's not by itself. So yeah, that Buddha, because the Buddha has directly actualized the both conventional and ultimate truth, namely emptiness, is defined as omniscience. I will touch upon this point about the Buddha's cognition of the true truths more extensively in section below as well. As for the identification of conventional truth, the guide to the Bodhisattva way, it is not that intellect alone should be taken as such. So the intended referent is object of intellect, just as the sutra state this is this to be preview of the world. So here too, it refers the fact obtained from within the sphere of the experience or from the preview of the world, worldly or conventional consciousness. So it's preview of an intellect or world means, so intellect has access to understand the ultimate and the conventionals, but no direct access. Right? So like you are taught, imagining tree and eye consciousness, that's seeing the tree. So both engaging in the tree, but thought is, has no direct access. Is it engaged, it perceives the tree through its own imaginations. So eye consciousness is not necessarily go through the imaginations. It's directly. Right? So which perceive the false realities, this is how one should understand the sense in which object of intellects constitute the conventional truth. So the division of object of knowledge into true truth underline the point that all object of knowledge are exhaust. So divisions of the true truth So that includes every existence, every phenomenon in it. It exhausts within this twofold divisions. So the Four Noble Truths or True Truths or anything that exists has to be, including in the True Truth. Scriptural citations on this point, there is the passage from the meeting of the Father and Son Sutras quoted above, and this is also stated explicitly in the meditation of divine revelation of suchness. So there is the conventional and likewise the ultimate. There is never such thing as a third truth. So there's no third truth, only true truth. Right? So the commentary too says that likewise, the whatever other truth there may be, all of these should also ascertain as a incompetent, right? By either of the true truths. So in this way, the commentary explains how the numerous enumerations bearing the word, truth found in the 10 ground sutra are encompassed within the true truths. So there's sometimes we say the truth of suffering, truth of origin of suffering, and then we also talk truth of cessation, truth of the path lead to the visions, and then barley sprout arises from the barley seed is a true truth, and the barley seed arises from the rice seed is not true. So there are many, right? This relation is true. This relation is fake. Right? So whatever we say, so there the truth be there the truth to be understood by means of differentiations in identified as referring to the presentation of the aggregates, elements, sources. So this master Chandrakirti is to accept the division of the true truth, a truth into two exhaustive, referring the presentation of the aggregates, the body, and then constituents of the elements, sources, which means faculties. So this master Chandrakirti too accept the division of the truth into two as exhaustive. So Chandrakirti also believe, kind of accept that. So whatever you say the truth or false, so everything has to be included in the true truth. Here is the reasoning. So when something is determined to be false and deceptive, then it's being non-deceptive and true must necessarily be negated. Because it's one nature, but it's the true truth's convention to ultimate truth. So, proving the conventional truth is not truly exist, or conventional truth is not objectively exist, not intrinsically exist, is the conventional and ultimate truth. So, because this ultimate truth, the conventional truth, is mutually exclusive. Anything that you find a conventional truth, right? So, conventional truth as a conventional is understanding of the ultimate truth. Like, for example, table or color is conventional. So, color being conventional, is revealing the ultimate truth. So So, for example, when we try to identify the color, right? So try to identify the color, what is the color, how it exists, and then says color that is color exists through the combination of the space, light, sense power, form, and how the form is the one that light can hit on, and then that reflects to the eye sense power, and with the distance and the light, with the distance, and the reflections, then there's something to be known as a color. But the color is not in the form, not in the space, not in the light, not even in the eye sense power. So all together, and something, relatively exists, conventional for temporarily. Right? So then this color is not objective, is not exist by itself, is the ultimate truth of the color. So as I, lie speech is being lie is the truth, right? So mutually exclusive, real and unlie, real and unreal. So when something determined to be false and deceptive, so when you see the relation of the cause and effect is falsely exists, unreal, deceptive, then it's being, the revealing of that natures is non-deceptive, is true. So the relations false and the deceptive being non-deceptive and the true must necessarily be negated. So this is because the being deceptive and the being non-deceptive are direct opposite. So mutually excluding each other's. Given this, the true truth must pervade the entire class of noble, and as such, they exclude any third possibilities, that is both or neithers. This is as stated. For example, light of the middle way. I think it's like Kamalashila, light of the middle way. Kamalashila, Bhavavivek. Maybe it's Shantirakjata, maybe. Those that have the characters of the mutually excluding each others are such that when one is eliminated through the negative determinations, if its opposite is not affirmed through the positive determinations, then its opposite has no existence. To conceive of something that is neither of the two is illogical, like a permanent and impermanent. So if you understand that table is impermanence, the permanent is negated. So permanent and impermanent cannot be, locate, cannot be like coexisting in one common locus. So in a way, conventional and ultimate truth is also mutually exclusive. Something is conventional is not ultimate. Something is ultimate is not conventional. So I think sometimes people call it dichotomy, right? Mutually exclusive dichotomy. So if you affirm one, and then you negate others. If you negate others, you affirm something. Right? So it's very opposite. So now, this is, and ordinarily when we say in the conventional and ultimate truths, and the false and the true are, it seems to ordinary perceptions is independent. Right? So anything that you find is a lie, there is no true. Right? So lie being lie is true. Right? So the conventional is falsely existing. Right? It is deceptive. It is not a non-deceptive. So realization of conventional as a deceptive is revealing ultimate truth. And that very realization is non-deceptive. And then, so why this realizations of the conventional as a conventional is why it is non-deceptive, because it discovers the ultimate truth. So ultimate truth of the lie is infallible. So I think this is, we have a little bit difficulty because we always think that false and the true is always, always we find in different directions. Right? So if someone, if you take, maybe there's something, this is why people, the suffering and happiness. Right? So when we want happiness, we avoid suffering. We try not to think about suffering. So try not to think about suffering is, which means, and with that mind, in finding the happiness. So it's almost impossible. Not understanding suffering, not thinking about suffering, and trying to find happiness. Right? So not one tomato you can find onion. Right? So the happiness, the suffering is not tomato and onion. So understanding, suffering is, purifying or kind of, eliminating the suffering. That reminds me, there's in India, in the Hindi, really most kind of, oldest movie, there's a song, Dukh mein sukhi jyoti hai, says there is light of happiness in suffering. Right? So we find the light in the dark. When there's no dark, there's no light. So dukh mein sukhi jyoti is the light of the happiness always found in the suffering. So happiness for the curing disease is from the diagnosing the disease. So there the cureness is found. Right. I think this is the mindset. The human, I think most human beings we do that. Like we always avoid the suffering and try to find happiness. That the way of finding happiness is cause of the suffering. So the suffering and happiness is not apple and apple and orange. in the Guide to the Bodhisattvas, they're talking about what is the benefit from understanding the sufferings. So then Shantideva says, the purifications, confessions, compassions, all comes from understanding of the suffering. When there is no understanding of the suffering, there's no confessions, there's no purification, there's no compassion. So, and similarly here, the ultimate truth, to reveal the ultimate truths, we have to understand conventional, how it conventionally exists, how it is being ordinarily exists, how it is being, exists through projections, through fabrications. I think this is pretty much, some people try not to think about aging, try not to think about death. So they always they witness every day they're aging. so it's kind of like something, illogical, right? If the happiness and independent from the suffering, so then all the Buddhas must be going after happiness. There must be some doing puja and purifications, burning incenses. Shakyamuni Buddhas and other Buddhas, Taras, must be doing some kind of puja. They don't do puja. So like space is not, space is not looking for space. Right? So the obstructive, someone who has obstructive natures, who experience obstructive natures, then they seek for the space. Because you are obstructive phenomena, so another obstructive phenomena can be obstacles for you. So you want the space, right? If you are space, then you don't need space. So I think that also explains the true truths, a preview of the world. So engaged, perceived, conceived, apprehending the true truths by the world. So they conceive something is neither is illogical. Those two things, of which one does not exist, if it is not established through the positive determinations, when its opposite is eliminated through negative determinations. So when you negate impermanent nature of the table, you cannot understand the impermanence. So without negating the permanent natures, there is no way you can understand or conceive or constitute impermanence of the table. Because they mutually exclude each other's, because the permanent and impermanent mutually exclude each other's. Those characterized by such mutual exclusions are pervasive with respect to the everything. So to understand impermanence, you have to negate the permanent. By negating permanent, you understand impermanent. By understanding the suffering and understanding the origin of the suffering, and that is how you establish the happiness. And then conventionals, understanding the conventional as the conventional is, revealing the ultimate truth. So therefore, ultimate is not independent from the conventional. Any question? So and that which pervade everything eliminates any other possibilities. Take for example the case of the embodied being and non-embodied being. So the mutually exclusive. So embodied being, therefore, is not is not embodied, not non-embodied beings. So Lujen and Lujen Mayibas. A forest is embodied, right? And space is non-embodied. So these two are mutually exclusive. If something is embodied, it's not a non-embodied, a permanent, impermanent, real and unreal, conventional and ultimate. Yeah, I think any questions? Yeah, I think this is very, very kind of significant points in because so way we kind of think of happiness is always we think the happiness is something somewhere else like west, and suffering is in the east or the south and north. So to find happiness, we avoid the suffering. So we try not to understand suffering. You don't see any significance in kind of contemplating on the suffering.
So embodied means expressing like force, or it's a term that expresses lots of trees.
Yeah, embodied, non-embodied. You can say obstructive phenomena and space. So if the any physical form is embodied things, so therefore it is not a space, it's not a non-embodied. So I think you say the relation of the barley seed and sprout, if that is embodied, is physical. So then there must be time that the relation that took place. So the relation of the barley seed and sprout may have took place during the seed or during the sprout. Because this relation never happened. The seed and sprout relation never happened to exist, took place during the causal time, the resultant time. But it exists, therefore it's not embodied. It's conceptually designated, non-embodied. So knowing non-embodied in understands is, not embodied. So you have negate embodied, so you find non-embodied. You negate non-embodied, you find embodied. So it's just kind of one example how these two are mutually exclusive. By negating one, you affirming others. Right? So in non-Buddhist schools, also there are a lot of discussions within the Paramatmas, Bhagavan. So there is some of the praising to the Vishnu Bhagavan. And some masters praise the Vishnu says, you have, how's that? I'm praying, I'm praising you with my, word. I know you have no ear with, you have no ear, but I'm praising you with your quality. You have no nose, but I'm offering you the incense. You have no eye, I'm offering you the flowers. So they're kind of saying they find the Bhagavan in non-embodied natures as a pure energy state. So with that, from that, you can manifest in anything. So I am, offering you that you can enjoy this relatively, right? So the some of numbers, it's kind of there's a little bit, maybe they're influenced with Nagarjuna's concepts and ideas. So there's some also they do that. So I heard many times, I heard it from many people this. Even the Bhagavad and Ved Purans, and they have, the corrections, they happen many times. So after the Buddha, and then the Ved Puran has they corrected many times. And after Nagarjuna's, they also correct in the Ved Puran. So often they kind of change. But they want to kind of, the story of the Bhagavan, the story of the power of the Bhagavan is always useful to, I think to influence good culture in the public. So culture is kind of part of habituations. So habits are, what do you call habits comes from by informing, programming, by telling the stories, by Any questions? So this point should be understood in the context of all other examples, direct opposite. Now, if an example of direct opposite that exclude the possibility of third term cannot be shown, there will then be no faculty to engage in the refutations based on critical analysis where the possibility are confined as a binary terms, inquiring whether something does or does not exist, whether it is one or many, so on. One or many is also here count as a mutually exclusive. If something one or the many. So one is also not, it's conventional. The government, our government, our nations, our forest, our gardens is all singular, one. So there's not ultimately one. So, but if there do exist such example of direct opposite, then when one of the two terms within the direct oppositions is negated, if the other is not established, then the other term has no existence. Therefore, to say that there are no direct opposite, according to the Prasangika school, suggested our failure to become the worst, right, in the way of the repetition and affirmations. So some master this is, that's a kind of, like these Sangha masters who thinks that the ultimate truth is not an object of intellect. So by negating conventional reality as a truly existing, right, and then there's nothing you have affirmed, the opposite of that, because the opposite is not knowledge, not a knowable object for the cognitions. So they think, so they say, this is the Prasangika school. Prasangika school, if you negate another side of the opposite, you're not going to affirm the other side of the truth. So this Lama Tsongkapha says, this is the the message is failure to become diverse in the way of repetition and affirmations. If you negate opposite, if you negate permanent on the table, you have affirmed the table is impermanent. If you have affirmed the table is impermanent, you have negate, right? Directly negate the permanent. So the Prasangika school also should accept these two, the mutually exclusive way it functions. So insofar as when one term in direct oppositions is eliminated, other come to be established. When one is negated, the other is affirmed. So there is no difference between Prasangika school, Prasangika, and the Savatantrika Madhyamikas. So all this Buddhist school, most of the Savatantrika school, minority school, and the Prasangika school, they all believe, they all accept the mutual exclusives. By negating one, and you have established another. So I think that's the one of the general
Wasn't there something a little different when you negate conventional reality as being true, that it's deceptive? There was something in there that was a little different. Like once you perceive that conventional reality is deceptive, then it cannot deceive you.
Yeah, if you understand the lie speech is lie, so it cannot lie to you, you know this is lie. Right? If someone says, someone call you that, if you are, when you are out in the market, someone calls, so there's 100 elephants in your house. So you just say, oh, that's not true.
loss.
So
They would be gone.
but it can be appears in the dream mind. Even in your small room, right, you can appear 100 elephants in your room. But sometimes it's like non-embodied in the sense of like physical, like human being. So there is it's a real kind of happening in the Ladakh in the Piti. There's one old woman, almost so many years. She has not much studied. She has not much studied, not much has no intellectual understanding, but a very faith, strong faith, and she determined to stay in the retreat for many, many years. And what she was reciting Om Mani Padme Hum, in the forest by all by herself. And she told sometimes she have visitors, like the spirit man looks like a human being. Like her room is just very small. There's the only space she can just lie. But in that 10, 15 people comes and sit there. And they insisted, teach us something. And she always says, I have no kind of, nothing to teach you. I can only recite Om Mani Padme Hum. So they just sit there, the 15 of those people inside a tiny house, tiny room. And she recite Om Mani Padme Hum, and then she talk about impermanence and like that. And then they leave. And sometimes they come. They said, please bless us. It's a blessing. So this is the kind of non-embodied, beings. So they can come and gather. Even there is no space enough, they can fit. I think we should think about this. This is very much related. I think relating in our everyday life. So where we trying to find happiness, where we kind of for the happiness, what we do for the happiness, we also do avoid thinking about aging and death, and for the happiness, we avoid reflecting on the conditional sufferings. We thinking about the suffering is adding more suffering. This is people think normally. And then the question is, where do you find happiness? What kind of happiness you want? So something that independent from that suffering that you experience. What can you experience happiness? So yeah. So when we ask that kind of question, maybe probably they have no idea what happiness they are they're looking for. Because not thinking about that suffering is, they think this is happiness. So this is exactly in the Zen traditions. Not thinking about I is the meditating the emptiness. So try not to think about myself, right? So I'm not thinking my, I'm not thinking my, I'm not thinking my, I'm not thinking I, because I am not thinking I, means I am thinking I. So, sometimes this, this kind of Zen, sometimes it goes, what you call, beyond the boundaries. Then this is not think about anything is the path to liberations. So thinking about anything is the binding in samsara. So then the continuous goes, therefore, no need to listen teaching, no need to read Buddha's teachings, no need to think about compassions. Just think nothing. So then this kind of, and this comes to this thought in the actions. So they deny the Buddha Dhamma, but still they seek for Buddha, seeking enlightenment, and by rejecting Buddha and Buddha's teaching. Yeah. So no questions? Okay. So distinctions within the conventional truth from the perspective of the world. So within the conventional truth, from the perspective of the world, and some of the conventional truths are, non-mistaken or non-deceptive. Some are deceptive. So conventional truths generally are all deceptive and unreal and mental projections. But from the point of view of the worldly perspective, and there are some non-deceptive, like they're saying, eye consciousness that is, strongly influenced by anger. So it is the deceptive. It can see things, right? So that does not exist. And, got drunk or, chemical reactions. So the all sense powers, can be, mistake. And then normal normal conditions, normal condition, right? With the eye conscious, those things are non-deceptive. So usually we use the example of daturas. There's one of the herbal things. By eating it, you can see everything's yellow. So, so that is the deceptive. And then without datura and seeing leaves and trees, all this color, oranges, green, these are non-deceptive according to, worldly perspective. So distinctions within the conventional truth from the perspective of the world, of the two, the object and the subject within the conventional truth, to state that the class of subject include, from the perspective of the worldly cognitions, both those that are, what's it? Is it vertical?
Vertical. It means truthful.
Oh, okay. Vertical and those that are distorted. The text says the false visions, also said to be a two kind. So false visions means, all kind of visions. So all the visions as false visions, conventional, said to be a two false, that of the clear sense, that of the impaired, right? Impaired sense. Cognitions driving from the impaired sense are held to be distorted. Yeah. compared with those of the unimpaired. So like, so the condition, the temporary condition that, that damage or that cause the eye to see, eye conscious to be mistaken, like the element and emotionals, and then sometimes the condition outside, like car or boat, right? And sometimes, how to say, like, emotions and elements. Element that include the chemicals, right? So people says if you got really badly drunk, so you can see the walls are moving, right? So these the chemical reactions. There's that kind of damage to your eye sense powers, the ability of the eye sense powers. So in the worldly perspective, this is the distorted sense. So in generally, even the normal eye consciousness is deceptive. Normal color is the deceptive, right? Now, if you compare within the worldly perspective, and then the eye consciousness is not necessary to be deceptive. Yeah, it's no question. So, I think we have a strong kind of something that is very strongly embedded in our mind. Like, we see things are very independent. So that independence, cause the mind to believe. So when it comes to happiness, we think happiness is independent from suffering. And ultimate truth is, independent from the conventional truths. Right. So then, non-deceptive is independent from the deceptive. So with that mind, we are, trying hard to find happiness. So the mind that is really seeking happiness seriously is all confused and misunderstanding.
We kind of have to look at what is deceiving us, see that it's deceiving us.
Yeah. See, there's deceiving us is making yourself not to be deceived.
And part of that would be
If there is no deception at all, so you don't really seek for non-deceptive. So sometimes, in Tibetan we have say, messing mertus. Yeah, maybe it's in the old time, my parents, this is, if you get burned from the fire, you have to bring closer to the fire. You will be cured by the fire. So here we always put ice, right? So this. So messing virtues. If you cause unhappy by suffering, you have to look into the suffering. So why this suffering happened? So the suffering automatically, disappears because the suffering is falsely exist. maybe one thing is true, because if you get burned like too close to the stove, and then if you place your hand not too close, not too distance, it will cure the infections, the pain will cure by the fire. Caused by the fire, it can cure by the fires.
So in what you've read today, it seems like seeing how close the relationship between the two truths is important.
Yeah, it's maybe it's when you can say how close they are. Maybe you can say there is no difference at all.
Yeah.
How do you make them? How do you really distinct them? By having distincting and fabricating as two separate entities. So this is the reason. This is the reason that you find is independent. That's why you go other way, right? So instead of looking here, you go. Sometimes, Lama Tsongkapha, there's one of the first Dalai Lama. So there's in his poem this is means if there's something that you are experience suffering due to something that you harm that caused by the spirit that comes from the east. There's the spirit in the east that caused you harm, and you are doing the ritual, the sending the cake to the west. So this is how human beings like, So like almost like we have no eyes. It's you just sit there, then you all feel something else, someone else.
It seems like it's really easy to say you understand like the conventional and ultimate are like connected.
Yeah.
It seems very easy to say, oh, I understand.
Yeah.
But as you like think about it more, it seems very, very hard, but it's very, very important.
So that understanding is like you're just standing under the languages. So I understand I'm under that language. So I think this is kind of very much, related with the everyday, we kind of, everyday life. So we try to find something, and at the same time we avoid something else. By avoiding, almost like avoiding that is the way to find happiness. By finding happiness, avoiding it. So the conventional. So this is the conventional is emptiness. Emptiness is the conventional. Form is emptiness. Emptiness form. Emptiness no other than form. Form too is no other than emptiness. So essentially there is no true truth. There's no truth. Right. So conventional and ultimate. Essentially, there is no separate. Now the separate happen by making distinctions. Right. So the separate are, the designations, is a fabrication. So now as a result of the fabricating or separating and making distinctions, two, right? When there is no two, but you just make it two, and that result, and when you try to understand the ultimate truth, you forgot the conventional truths. You don't reflect the conventional truth. And also that reminds, in the Four Noble Truths, Buddha says, suffering to understand. And when it comes to abandoning, the Buddha says, the suffering of the cause to abandon. So when it comes to the suffering, Buddha did not say suffering has to be abandoned. The cause of the suffering has to be abandoned, suffering to understand. So almost the same. Understanding suffering is abandoning the cause of the suffering. Right. So when you understand this is a mistake, understanding mistake is, gaining knowledge. So yeah. So this also kind of, I mentioned earlier that the Hindi song, Dukh mein sukh jyoti, the light of the happiness always found in the suffering. Within the suffering, there is the light of happiness. So you have to find the light of the happiness in suffering by placing your mind closer to the suffering, in a detailed look from the all angles, you understand the suffering, and then you find light of the happiness. So the light of the happiness is not found by avoiding the suffering. And should they remember that Shantideva always says the benefit, benefit of understanding, contemplating the suffering is that compassions, purifications, compassions. So these are is the benefit from understanding the suffering. Yeah, any other questions?
It's seeing our own projections as external and letting that deceive us. Is that
Yeah, I think
one way to say it?
like things that we desired. So things that we desired, when we go after that, so the desired object is we fabricate. So we fabricate that and we go after that. So that desirable object and actually in undesirable things by fixing it by being closer to it, understanding about it, that desirable object. But we project the desirable object, something independent. Julie, no questions? Okay, then. Okay. Chanju Simjo Rinpoche, Majepana Deju, Kebanya, Nebanya, Kone Kondo Pebbles, Tony Dawa Rinpoche, Majepana Deju, Kebanya, Bamba, Kone Kondo Pebbles, Poma Simjan Tamja, Dada Denju, Nedro Tamja Dao, Bon, Chanju Simba, Kama Sushu, Tada Gunji, Molom Jujuji, Kareja Vego Vishima, Panda de Wama Nujo, Jeresa, Tinzia, Shabeside Batu Deju.
May the precious body mind I get on horizon grow. May the bone of moving divine by increase forevermore. May the precious mind realizing emptiness I get on horizon grow. May the bone of moving divine by increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all Father and Mother cease beings of all happiness. May all lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are Bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred path surrounded by snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness, O powerful Chandrakirti capsule. We may need this sword to samsara.
Yeah, thank you very much.